So this is a little video that's going to show this new kit and how these parts work to add stability to Liokaiser. Okay, let's go ahead and figure out how to install these parts. So I've got Cerebus here, and I'll show you what you need to do. To begin with, I've kind of got the legs in a bit of a mess here, but what you want to do is there's 3 screws on the inside here. 1, 2, 3. I've taken all these screws out already, and they just back out with a regular Phillips screwdriver. And then what I'm going to do is just gently pry this apart. This little part's going to drop off, and then you'll see that's going to give us access to this right here, this connector. And I'm going to actually take this out, and then you'll see that when I pull this out, there's a big post there, and this connector is now free. Now this one, you can see I've actually gone and stripped the piece right off. Then what we do is we come in with our new posts, and you can see that they occupy this entire space, and then they can't, once we peg this in, they're not going to be able to swing. And that creates some limitations, but some advantages. So we'll get to that in a bit. So to reinstall here, what you want to do is just put that back in on that side. And then what you're going to do with this part is this post here pegs over top of this post here. They kind of sandwich together, and you can see there, I'm going to put that together. And then what you're going to do is replace the screws, and then do the exact same thing on the other side. Once again, you're just going to lift this up. I've removed these 3 screws here, and I'm literally, whoops, just popping that apart. Kind of exploded. You can see on this side the cap hasn't been stripped off. I mean, it's stripped off pulling it out of the leg, which again is part of the design flaw here. Again, you see how this thing could be folded up in there, and the new design cannot. And again, that's very intentional. Once again, the post goes through and through the new part all the way through to the other side, and then we take this and sleeve this over top of that post there to attach it. Now, one thing to make sure, when you put this back together, make sure to put these little feet in on either side before putting in the screws. And again, the screws just go with a, you can just go ahead with a regular Phillips screwdriver to attach those in. So I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do all 3 screws, and then I'll show you the next step. Now to change the connectors in the legs, it's these little red connectors. I actually already have the set installed here, but I'm going to, because I had this in for testing, but I am going to show you what's involved in getting this replaced with the newer style connector. And it's a little trickier, but it can be done. So you'd think that it's just a couple of screws here, and you'd be good to go. But unfortunately, it's not. The halves have to be separated, the chest and the back. So to begin with, what you need to do is locate the 2 screws here so that you can separate the front and back halves of the crotch, and that's going to get you access to the mechanism here, and I'll get to that in a bit. But unfortunately, you got to do that. So I'm just going to undo these, and then you want to do the exact same thing on the other side. So again, you're looking for 2 screws. You got a screw here and a screw here. So I'm going to get those loosened up to begin with. And now that the screws are undone, what it does is it gains you access to the waist parts. So this part you want to be a little careful. Usually I just kind of back off one side and get this piece out of here. And then you can see that there's the mushroom half in there. And then you can take this part out. And we're going to be focusing on this top half. You can put the legs away for now. Same on the other leg here. What you're going to do is just pull that off and keep that area. We don't need these halves here. And then we're going to be focused on this half. The next step, we'll just start with the this is kill bison side. So what you want to do is, forgive me if I got the names wrong. What you want to do here is you actually want to undo these screws. So we've got 2 here. I'm going to back those out. And then this other one is a little trickier to get at, but not horrible. It's in here. It's this little screw right here. and you just need a nice fine screwdriver. That's why I really like this one, to get into that area. So get those 3 undone. Okay, so I missed one screw. There is one screw up top here. And then once you back this guy out, I'll just get that one there. Once you get that one out, then that's going to give you access to this. We're finally there. And then this is even kind of tricky because you got to pull this out and just pull it gently off the peg. And this is interesting. So when you first get this part, how do you get this part out? Just push. And there's a little spring here, so be careful. And then that'll expose the part there. So what you want to do is when you put this in, make sure that this is facing up. So there's sort of a hollow side and a flat side. Make sure the flat side is facing up. And then you want to just key into that H shape there. And then you can put this back there and then put this back on the post. And that should get you this part replaced. And then I'll put them back together and I'll show you what happens on the other side. Now on the other side, of course, we've got a pin. So that does make it a little more complicated, but it's still doable. The pin is, you can see it's located here and you have access to either side. And what you want to do is see if you can find which end has knurling. I don't know if this one does have any knurling. I'm going to try and push it through on this side. I've got just another little pin that I found from some of my RC stuff. And even like a fine nail would do. I'm just going to try pushing it that way. Yeah, it looks like it's going. So what you do is just push it as much as you can from one side, and then hopefully that gives you access to the pin. And again, this one wasn't too tight, so it wasn't too bad. And then you got to be careful. You don't want to bend the pin or affect it in any way. But once you do that, that'll get the pin out. And then that gives you access to these 4 screws. You're going to undo these 4 screws, and then that's going to get you access to this part here. So the 4 screws are out. And then that's going to give me access to this. And this, luckily, is the same as the first side I showed you. So again, you're just going to push on the top. Make sure that spring doesn't go flying. Back that out, and then install your piece. And then to put it back together, just going to put this with the spring in here gently, and then put that, trap the spring. I'm going to trap the spring in that little mechanism there, like that. And put the post back on. And you're good to go there. And then you really just start putting it back together with the same steps as before. So the 4 screws are tight. And then the trick to getting this back in is to line up these 2 little posts here are going to go into those little sockets there. So line that up. And then what I like to do is just get the pin in a little bit here. Just get it up to the point where you're close. Get the posts in and then just push. And that should get you part of the way. And then I'll sometimes use like the pliers or some other tool to put pressure on the pin. And it's good that you have something kind of bracing it. So I'm going to, it's hard to do this on the stage, but I'm going to be able to push that through. That's going okay. So just a hard flat surface to push it in. And you can see the pin's going in. Now when you get to the other side, you kind of want to check that things are still lining up. Like you want to make sure that you're not sort of stretching this purple plastic as it comes through. So you want to be a little bit careful with the pins, but don't let pins scare you, you know, like, you know, they're often sort of, oh no, I've run into this in the assembly of a transformer and I'm never going to take it apart because it has a pin. But, you know, these ones aren't even knurled, and you can see that was pretty easy to get back in. And then the waists, again, are the same on both sides pretty much. So you have a back side here, and here's your front side. And because this is a mushroom, you can do it either way. Make it this way. A little trickier to assemble it. You may want to attach this on there first. This here. Just kind of line everything up, nest everything together. And there, that's all attached together. And now I can kind of move this around to get at the screws in there. I'm going to put the screws back in. And basically, to do the other leg, it's the exact same thing. So now we've got our ports installed. Okay, let's take a look at how this is to be transformed. You got a couple options. The first option, I'm just going to take the wheels and fold them down here. And then what you do is close these as you normally do. Okay, fold these in. And then you're going to bring this up to this position and then fold this up here as you normally would. Bring this around and then this can come down sort of out of the way so you know, having to look at it. Same on this side. All right, I'm going to put this down. Make sure that the wheels are kind of in the down position on both sides. There we go. And then this is folded down to cover, and then we just sort of fold that up and then this around. And then here's where your limitation starts to show up. You've actually got these connectors showing out the back. So here's where, you know, you're literally just going to need to kind of cover them up with these covers. So these hang out to be a little bit larger in this option, which isn't, you know, the best, but I mean, this isn't the best alt mode to begin with. Now, in addition to that, you have another option for the alt mode, which is this. So I'm just going to pull these back, lift these up. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is fold these out. And what I'm going to do is just kind of open this up and position these just at a slight angle. It's tricky to get the exact angle here, but you can rotate this up a little bit and kind of get it in that position there. And that gives you just a little more options on what you're doing with the legs back here. So here, and I'm just going to put a slight angle to that, fold this down, and then put this in here. And then click that in there. And then again, you can decide what you want to do with these. You can use these to kind of create, you know, some kind of engines at the back, or you can try and cover up the connectors or something like that. Now for robot mode, the good news is there really isn't any impact with robot mode. So let's just look at that. So I'm going to open these up, and here's what you do. You open up this portion here and then fold these around. You can see they cleanly pass through. And we can put the knees there. So this is a non-issue. And then there's your feet, and you can just rotate your feet up like that and then open these up. And so same here, basically what you want to do is make sure this is open all the way, and that allows this to pass through the little doorway. Get it through, fold that up, put the feet in position. And I'm not going to bother transforming the rest. You guys know what to do from here, or you can watch reviewers who are way better at this than I am. But basically, you know, that's how you can do the legs. Or if you want, you can have the legs up here, however you prefer to do the legs. But basically, the connectors really aren't getting in the way in this regard. It's only the one scenario with the alt mode that has a minor impact. So that's the good news about transformation for Cerebus. What we've got is we've got keyholes in the actual ratchet joints on both legs. And then we've actually got keys on the thighs. I'm going to connect the two together and just see how stable things are. Now to do this, you can see that I got the keyhole and the keyway, and I just plug those together and then rotate the legs slightly. Nothing more fancy than that. Same thing on the other side. Basically just get the two, line them up, plug them in, rotate. And just going to set them back so you can see. This guy was such a pain, he wouldn't even stand. And now he actually stands. Like I can actually move around and pose him, and he'll actually stay. So it's a pretty big difference from where I was before with this thing. It's definitely a fix. So I'm excited about that. And it's such a good combiner. I mean, it deserves some extra stability in there. Now, something that can help a little bit with stability is literally his footprint. So what I'm going to do here next, I'm just going to break out a couple of other optional parts. And that's these guys. So I painted them up. I painted them to actually match this color, and the feet color. It's all the same. And how these work is There's actually like little snaps in there, and they literally pop on like that. I'm going to do the other side. See how they pop in? And what that does is it actually cleans up the look of the feet a bit, and then also adds a little more forward stability in the figure. So I actually personally prefer this look. I mean, maybe not everybody will like that styling, but it also adds stability.